Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're here in Bordeaux, France, for the don'ts of visiting France. Let's be honest, there's a lot of things you love doing here, but there's a few things you don't do when you visit France. And I really want to have this video help people enjoy their trip to France more, because it's a fantastic place to visit. And my first don't for you is, don't think the French are that stereotypical rude snob kind of thing, because the French have been some of the most wonderful, hospitable, kind, helpful hosts we have ever visited. If you've watched our videos, you know I'm kind of a Francophile. I really love our time here in France, and the people are wonderful, but they get this horrible reputation, mostly because the waitstaff in Paris, which has actually gotten better, by the way. And the thing is, don't take that bad waiter in Paris as a typical French person. The French are awesome. They are so helpful and kind. I cannot tell you the times that locals have helped us by pointing us in the right direction, telling us, no, this restaurant's nice, but that restaurant's better. You should have this wine instead of that wine. We've had Christmases with French friends. We've visited French families around the world, and the French are fantastic. So don't think they're that stereotypical snob you hear about. I mean, I remember a time we were in Paris, who have the reputation to be the snobbiest of the snobs, and we had Liam in his little carriage back in the day, and the metro worker wouldn't let us in, and so the locals helped us carry the stroller over the barriers of the metro, and then they scolded the metro workers. It was amazing just how wonderful the people are here. So please, 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 don't think they're snobs. They are awesome here, okay? And a way for you to get to know them and have them even more awesome to you is our second don't. And that is, don't be afraid to try a little French. Now, I'm not saying you need to be fluent in French when you come here. That's ridiculous. But knowing a few words, merci, which is thank you, s'il vous plaît, which is please, oui, which is yes, it goes a long way to really open the people up and make them want to help you. Because you're like, look, you're really trying. And if you're from the US, and we have our own reputation of being bad tourists and not speaking languages and stuff like that, they like it even more and they respect it even more, and you get better service. I cannot tell you how many 5-star reviews I've gotten on Uber that make a point to say, hey, he tried to speak some French with me, or how much free wine or free shots or free cider we've got in our trips here in France because we try to speak just a little bit of French. It really does go a long way to really open up the people. So don't be afraid to learn a few words. And yes, if you butcher it, it's okay. They'll understand you and they'll be fun with you with it. So don't worry, okay? So those are my first two big don'ts I had to tell you. Now, my third don't has to do with the kissing here, and that is, don't feel that you have to kiss the guy that gives you the key to your Airbnb. Look, when you see French friends meet and French good acquaintances meet, they'll give bijou kisses on the cheeks. You're a tourist, you don't know them, you don't kiss them, okay? You tend to kiss people that are your friends, people that you know, maybe had a good time with, you built some kind of repertoire with. Those are the people that you'll give the kisses to, not the random people on the street, because I've seen some tourists going, I'm not sure what to do here. Look, it's okay, you don't have to kiss. They're cool with handshakes as well, all right? Now, my fourth don't for you when you come to France is, don't forget to dress nicely. I mean, France is one of the capitals of, haute couture and fashion in the world, and you do notice that the people do dress a bit nicer here. And as a tourist, if you dress nicer, the locals appreciate that. Now, I'm not gonna say they're gonna treat you badly if you dress like a slob or something like that, but you might notice a little bit better service, a little bit nicer help, or a little more people more willing to come up and help if you dress a little bit nicer. So, you know what? A little color coordination, a little bit of more fitting clothes will go a long way. Remember, you don't have to dress like you're a supermodel. It's okay. I mean, I don't dress like a model very often, but I do try to dress a little bit nicer when we come to France, because it does go a long way with ingratiating yourselves with the locals. The fifth don't I have for you is a very important one, and that is, don't think France is just Paris. The reason I'm filming this here in Bordeaux is because everyone thinks, oh, I went to France because I went to Paris, or I went to Paris so I saw France. France is different all over the country, and you have very different experiences. Don't get me wrong, I love Paris. If you watch our videos, you know I love Paris. I would move there like that, no questions asked, because I love it so much. But also, the country has got such variety. Whether you're going to Normandy or coming down here to the Aquitaine region by Bordeaux, or going over to Strasbourg, Grenoble, the Riviera, you have so much variation in the country that don't just see Paris. Take the time and go explore this country, which leads into my next don't for you, and that is, don't forget to get your seat reservations on the TGV beforehand. Look, if you're coming with Eurorail or Interrail, they don't come with reservations. And the fast trains here, the ones that go like 300 kilometers an hour, they are seat reservation required. So you're gonna have to get a seat reservation. And that means all the seats get reserved. So if there's no seat reservations left, that means the train is full and you can't take the train. So if you're gonna be traveling on a weekend or a holiday, make sure you're going online and buying your tickets early. I mean, we have the app and we have all of our tickets on the app, so we had all that bought before we came here, okay? So do have a heads up for that. Another don't I have for you when you're gonna be taking the trains is don't overpack. Look, on the TGVs and on the trains in France, there's not a ton of space. So you can't get that big, huge 900-pound suitcase anywhere because there's nowhere to put it. I would rather you did 2 carry-on size bags because you can fit those in the small spaces to put luggages in. Because you know, like if you're on the trains in Germany or in the Netherlands, there's that big space above your seat. They don't have that big space above your seat. It might be at the end of the car or in the middle of the car. There's not always a ton of space. So don't overpack when you come to France. I mean, you can always buy stuff when you're here, but just know that you don't need to overpack when you come because you're not gonna have a ton of space. Not just in the trains, but also in the hotels and stuff like that. It's gonna be smaller spaces. And when you're going around this beautiful, gorgeous country, my next don't for you is don't think that local French food is the same everywhere. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody loves the steak frites, right? And everybody loves the escargot, and everybody loves the confit de canard, the duck. But the thing is all the regions here in France have their own flavor, right? If you're going to Normandy, it's not a wine country, it's cider country, the apples that are there, right? You're gonna have that. Here in Bordeaux, it's more about meat and the Bordelais sauce, and you're gonna have, I mean, we're by the sea, so you've got fantastic oysters that are here. If you're going to Strasbourg, you might see a little German flair in with the food and the local food. So make sure when you try local French food, don't just try the famous ones you've heard about before, but ask the locals, hey, what is typically from Bordeaux? What's typically from Toulouse? What's typically from Nantes? Do that and you're gonna find a much more enriching tummy experience when you do come here. And speaking of those meals when you do come here, my next tip for you is don't expect to have an early dinner or a late lunch because a lot of the restaurants, their kitchens will close from 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 7 or 8 o'clock at night, okay? So if you're a late luncher, you like to have dinner like my dad at 5 p.m., you're gonna be out of luck unless you're going to a really touristy place, and you don't want that, you want the real deal. And they don't start serving till 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Also, if you're gonna be on a weekend like a Friday or Saturday night, I do recommend you book reservations for the place you wanna eat because the French like to go out and eat on the weekends as well, so you wanna make sure you have that. Now, another don't I have to do with the food is something that Caleb wanted to make sure I warned you about, and that is don't expect to find frog legs everywhere in France. Look, the locals don't quite eat the frog legs like they used to, and probably if you do get frog legs, they're probably not frogs from France anyway. Just giving you a heads up for that one. And speaking of fried frogs, hey, my next don't for you has to do with the beach. If you're gonna be going to the beach, whether you're here by Bordeaux or if you're going to the Riviera or wherever you're gonna go in beach season, don't wait to try to find a big open spot for you and all of your friends to sit at. The beaches get packed here. And so when you see a little area, go for it. Put your stuff down and grab it. Eventually, maybe those people might leave, but it's not like there's gonna be big open spaces. So just be used to not a lot of personal space when you're at the beach. And some other don'ts I'd say I should throw in with the beach when you're there. One, don't gawk if anybody's topless around. I mean, no one's gawking at you in your board shorts, right? Also, if you're gonna be going to Nice, the beach there, or other beaches, make sure you check beforehand, what are the beaches like? Is it a sand beach or is it a stone beach? Because I know a lot of people go to Nice and they hit the beach there and it's a stone beach. So make sure you got some water shoes so you don't walk around going, ow, 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 when you're going around, okay? Now my next don't for you has to do with culture here in France. And what you have to realize is, don't think French culture and the culture you're gonna see here in France is limited to art museums, like seeing the Mona Lisa and stuff like that. France has a lot of layers of history here. You want to see ancient Roman ruins, you can see the aqueducts, you can see the bridges, you can see the forums and stuff like that. They have that here. You can see that around the country. But the thing is, they have more than that. You can see, whether you go see the cathedrals in Chartres and other places, or maybe you want to see 20,000-year-old cave painting in Lescaux. I mean, there's tons and tons of options. And yes, I know I butcher it, but look, the locals are okay with you butchering it. They'll figure it out. They're really nice about it. But there's so many layers of culture and history to see when you come here that it's not just an art museum trip. You have the architecture and the churches and the cities and the gates and all kinds of great stuff. Going to Avignon, going to Grenoble, coming here. you're going to see a lot of culture, and some of it's, yes, inside in the fabulous art museums, but also sometimes it's outside and taken in the cities or the countryside and the villages and just the history that's happened here in France. You'll love it. Now, my next note for you is, don't worry about being a little late if you're here in France. If you're going to be going to somebody's house for dinner, they kind of expect you to be a little late, just so you know. And you're meeting your friends. If they're not there right on time, it's okay. Now, the trains and buses and stuff, yeah, you got to be on time for that. But in general, France is a little more laissez-faire with the time frame kind of stuff here. I mean, it's not quite as laissez-faire as like Spain and Portugal, but it's not like going to Germany where you need to be 5 minutes early to actually be on time. I mean, it's a little bit more relax, calm down, and that also takes into effect when you're actually ordering your food and stuff like that. Don't get in a hurry, all right? Now, one thing where I think you should worry, though, is don't trust anyone that's asking you to sign a petition or there's begging or anything like that, because you will see a lot of begging here in France. I mean, not all over the place. You'll see a ton in Paris. You'll see a lot of ladies coming up wanting to sign petitions, mostly in Paris and stuff like that. But anytime you are at a tourist destination, make sure you don't stop paying attention to where your watch, wallet, phone are, because there are a lot of pickpockets here. I'm not going to lie about that. That's one of the downfalls of France. It's so fantastic that tourists are always here. And whenever there's always tourists, there's always going to be pickpockets, scam artists, stuff like that. So do have a heads up. And also, watch our video on the scams of Paris to give you a lot of ideas of the scams you might see, not just in Paris, but all over France. And speaking of all over France, my next don't for you is, don't try to see all of France in one visit. Look, France is a super large country, especially for Europe. And when you come here, you're going to realize that, man, even though those trains get me from Bordeaux to Paris in 2 hours, that doesn't mean you should go just Bordeaux to Paris. There's so many different regions. There's so much kind of uniqueness in each of those regions here in France that maybe you just pick a couple regions when you come here. Don't try to do it all. Like I usually say, look, a nice first visit is Paris, then go to Normandy in the Loire Valley. Next time, come on down here to the Aquitaine region and go to Bordeaux. Maybe go over to the Provence and see that. Another trip, go see the north. There's a lot of different options you can see. And don't try to do it all, because you'll burn yourself out. Go, go, go. Be like the French. Take it slow, relax, and enjoy, and take it all in. Maybe stay at a gîte, like a farmhouse kind of B&B kind of setting when you're here. It's a really, really great experience, but you don't want to do it all. I mean, I might be, biased and want you to come back to France a lot of times, but honestly, there's a reason why we keep coming back to France, because there's so much to see and there's such distinctness in the regions. Coming to Bordeaux is very different than going to Lyon, which is very different than Strasbourg, which is very different than Nantes and Rennes, and you have all these things. So get out and explore and see different regions, because you can have a great time all over, but a really different time all over. Now, when you are going around to all these different regions, one thing is similar everywhere, and that is the plat du jour, or the fixed price menus. And my don't for that is, don't skip out on lunch when you come to France, because that's where you have the deals, the lunch deals, where, yeah, you could get the starter, a main, and a dessert for a set price. They'll have discount prices at lunch, so you can have that really fancy, expensive meal at a much lower price at lunch, so you can save some bucks when you're here. So my last don't for France, I'm going to go with you here in Bordeaux, is don't expect to do much on Sundays in terms of shopping. Look, Sundays, all the stores are closed, all the offices are closed, and so you're going to have to realize that it's going to be a great day for tourism and eating on Sunday, because the museums most likely will be open. Hey, the Louvre is closed on Tuesdays, not Sundays, people. You're going to have the restaurants open so you can eat and enjoy that way, but just realize your shopping and your souvenir hunting, you're going to have a tough time on Sundays. Anyway, sounds like the police are ready for me to get out of here. So if you want to learn more about visiting Fantastique France, check out some of our other videos. 5 things you love and hate about visiting France. 10 things that shock tourists when they come to France. Maybe you want to know about here in Bordeaux. We've got the don'ts and shocks of Bordeaux. What you should know before you come to Paris. Scams you'll see in France and Paris. All on our website at woltersworld.com, or search for our YouTube channel. You can find it in there. Search anything France, but Wolters World with it, and I'm sure we'll pop up. And I wish you a great time, but don't worry, you will, because France is fantastic. Au revoir de Bordeaux.